The house was quiet, too quiet for her liking. Retirement had given her time she once longed for, yet now the hours felt heavy, stretching endlessly across the day. She sat by the window most mornings, watching children hurry to school with backpacks bouncing against their shoulders, and something inside her tightened. For more than 4 decades, that had been her world: the chalk-dusted classrooms, the rustling pages of textbooks, the worried faces of students who didn't believe they were capable of more. She had poured her life into them, one lesson at a time. But now, as she looked back, a question often rose in her chest like an unwelcome shadow. Did any of it matter? Her neighbors seemed to measure success by retirement plans, savings, or the trips they could afford. She didn't have much of that. Teaching had paid enough to live, but never enough to build wealth. She kept her old car running, tended her small garden, and stretched her pension carefully. Sometimes she felt almost embarrassed when conversations turned to legacies, as if her life had been too ordinary to leave a mark. She thought about her years in the classroom, and though the memories warmed her, doubt followed closely behind. Did her students even remember her name, or had all her efforts drifted away, unnoticed, like chalk erased from a blackboard? At night, when the house settled into silence, the weight of those questions pressed hardest. She would replay moments when she pushed a student harder than they wanted, wondering if she had done too much or not enough. She recalled the boy who always struggled with reading, the girl who hid her drawings in the back of her notebook, the restless ones who resisted every assignment. Where were they now? Did they find their way, or had they slipped through the cracks despite her best efforts? Her heart wanted to believe she had mattered, but her mind kept whispering otherwise. She would see former colleagues post pictures of grandchildren's graduations, business ventures, and vacations abroad, and she couldn't help but feel her life had grown smaller, quieter, less significant. She told herself she should be content. She had lived honestly, worked hard, given her best, but beneath the surface was a longing that never quite left her, a need to know she had touched lives in ways that outlasted her presence in a classroom. That longing became her quiet burden, carried from sunrise to sunset, as if life had left her behind while she was still waiting for an answer. The answer she longed for came quietly, in ways she never expected. One afternoon, as she walked to the small market in town, a young man stopped her near the entrance. His face lit up the moment he saw her. He spoke her name with such warmth that it startled her. For a moment, she couldn't place him. His features were older, more defined, but then she saw the boy he once was. He had been one of her quiet ones, sitting in the back row, hesitant to speak. He told her he had become a nurse, and then added, with a small smile, that it was her encouragement that had given him the courage to believe he could succeed. She listened, speechless, as he recounted how she once stayed after class to help him through an essay, how she told him his voice mattered even when he doubted it. She had forgotten that moment entirely, but to him, it had become a turning point. As they parted, he said thank you in a voice that carried years of unspoken gratitude. The words followed her home, wrapping around her like a gentle embrace. Not long after, she encountered another former student. This time it was a woman, now with 2 children of her own. She recognized her instantly, the girl who had filled notebooks with sketches when she should have been solving equations. Instead of reprimanding her, she had once encouraged her to pursue her art, telling her that her drawings had life in them. The young woman beamed as she revealed she was now a professional illustrator, her work published in children's books across the country. She said her teacher's belief in her talent had given her the courage to chase a dream. These encounters began to arrive like small gifts, unplanned and deeply moving. Each one carried a reminder that her words had not disappeared into silence, but had taken root in lives that continued to grow and bloom. With every story, a new thread of memory wove itself into her heart, stitching together the truth she had long doubted. Her life had mattered, and not in small ways. At night, as she sat in her chair by the window, the silence no longer felt as heavy. She found herself smiling at the thought of those she had taught, imagining where they were now, what paths they had taken, and how, perhaps in some small way, her voice still echoed in their choices. The doubts were still there, but softer now, as if the voices of her former students had begun to answer them, one by one. The turning point came on a spring evening, when she attended a community event at the local library. She had been invited without much thought, assuming it was just another small gathering. But when she arrived, she was met with a sight that took her breath away. Rows of familiar faces filled the room. Grown men and women she once taught as children gathered together to honor her. For a moment she stood frozen, unable to move, as applause rose like a wave round her. One after another, they came forward to share their stories. A doctor spoke of how her belief in his potential kept him from giving up when the weight of his family's struggles nearly broke him. A mother described how her patients had taught her the value of kindness, something she now tried to pass on to her children. An artist thanked her for seeing what others had overlooked. Each story was like a lantern lit in the dark, illuminating pieces of her life she had thought were lost. As she listened, tears blurred her vision. She had spent years questioning her worth, believing her efforts had vanished like chalk on a board. Yet here it was her legacy, not in wealth or possessions, but in the living, breathing proof of her students. Their gratitude was not rehearsed or distant. It was raw, heartfelt, born from years of carrying her influence with them. She realized in that moment that her name was not forgotten, nor her efforts wasted. They had taken root in the soil of countless lives, blossoming in ways she could never have imagined. When it was her turn to speak, she found her voice trembling, yet steady with conviction. She told them that she had never sought recognition, only hoped to help them believe in themselves. She confessed that in her quiet hours of doubt, she had wondered if her life's work had mattered. Looking out at the faces before her, she knew the answer at last. Her legacy was alive, carried forward in every act of kindness, every success, every moment of courage her students found within themselves. That night, when she returned home, the silence of her house no longer felt lonely. It felt fulfilled with the voices, laughter, and gratitude of those who had crossed her path. She understood now that a true legacy is not measured by what we leave behind in material things, but by the way we touch the lives of others, and in that truth, she finally found peace. Sometimes we believe our worth is measured in numbers, in possessions, in the things people can hold after we are gone. Yet the truth is gentler, deeper, and far more enduring. Our real legacy is carried in the hearts we've touched, the moments where our kindness lifted someone else, the quiet encouragement that gave another the strength to keep going. This story reminds us that even the smallest gestures can ripple outward, shaping lives in ways we may never fully see. If this story touched you, take a moment to reflect on those who shaped your own path. And if it moved you, consider sharing it so others may find meaning too. Your likes, comments, and subscription help us continue bringing these human stories to life.